WECU 1570 AM and W298BX 107.5 FM, Winterville, North Carolina.
Motivations with Glenn.
Welcome to the Glenn Johnson Show, Motivations with Glenn and Apostle Jacqueline Culins Williams, here on Awesome Radio, 107.5 FM, 1570 AM, WECU. I would just first like to say thank you to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and to the most gracious and heavenly Father, Father God, for being here today. I'm joined by my fabulous co-host, who is a woman of God to the 10th power. Here's Apostle Jacqueline Culins Williams.
Hey, Dr. Glenn, and to our listening audience on today. It is a very good and blessed day on today. You know, we're out and we're getting some heavy rain in our region here. And I looked and said that I think the rain waited until I came outside. Now, it was threatening all morning, but as soon as I got ready to come out, it started raining. Dr. Glenn, did you get in that rain today?
And you know what? Sitting in my car waiting to come inside the station, it was absolutely dry. As soon as I made my mind up that I was done doing what I was doing in the car, which was a phone call, I got prepared to get out of the car to come to the station, and the sky just opened wide, and buckets of water just started pouring down. I said, Lord, have mercy. But there was nothing for me to do. What can I do about it? That's an act of God. Because two things fall from the sky and do not return: snow and rain.
Yes, that is so true. And the Lord knows where it needs to rain. He knows what part of the earth He created the earth. So He knows that we need the rain, even if sometimes it seems like a little inconvenience. But hey, the plants and the grass and all of the fruit trees and things that are in this region need water. And sometimes some things need to be washed away, on the earth. I just know how much it cleans up things when it rains. So I appreciate the rain today. I had to run and it was really, really coming down, but I'm grateful to even see the rain today, Dr. Glenn.
That's
And
right.
so we have a great show on today. Today we're going to talk about Social Security again. And on last week, we had a little bit of technical difficulties, and there were a few things that you probably didn't get or that you missed, but we are back today, and we're going to make sure that we pick up those particular things because we don't want you to miss the good information that we were putting out at that time and some new things on this week. So we're grateful to be here. I'm just glad to be here. Every time I say that, I'm glad to be here, Dr. Glenn. And I hope people feel the same joy that I feel about being here because there's sometimes, somebody didn't make it and we're here. So when I say I'm glad to be here, it's because I'm really, really glad to be here. Dr. Glenn?
I'm so glad and thankful and honored to be here myself. You know, I think I told you this last week, but if I didn't, let me mention to you again. Somebody recently asked me, why is it that the United States is the only country that has a problem with race. The person that told me that said, I never heard of this issue in any other country, but only in the United States. And why is that? I said, this is all God's land, God's kingdom. So anybody should be allowed to come anywhere in the United States to do whatever they want to do. It's a free society. It's a free country. If it's free, then how can we have all these issues?
Well, Dr. Glenn, I want to say too, concerning that, is that the United States is a trailblazer for many other countries. And a lot of the issues that we in the United States have had to go through and we've won victory with, I mean, even in the time of segregation. After the United States went through the segregation, and Dr. Martin Luther King, was leading those particular fights back then. In other countries, they began to model what the United States done. They went through the same things in other places. So the United States, a lot of times becomes a model for other countries. So maybe that's why we don't hear it. And every country, no matter what, there is going to be some bigots and some racists and some people that are not going to treat people equally. Our fight may look different, but it's the same fight in other nations. They may be fighting for a different thing. You remember when we used to see apartheid in Africa, we would see those words. They were fighting for something for that land. And there are always fights going on. But I just wanted to say, and just to repeat that again, that the United States is a trailblazer and a leader in a lot of things that other countries model themselves after.
Yeah, and you mentioned Dr. King. And just briefly, because we got to get to the subject, just briefly, we used to have modeled and to a trailblazer, and other countries follow us. I'll never ever forget when I was at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia, Dr. King's church. But I was at the original church that he preached in, and the new church. At the new church, next door is the museum. So I went over to the Dr. King's museum. There was a young man in there from Bosnia with his girlfriend who spoke English. He didn't speak English. So we're both standing there admiring Dr. King's portrait. Had his shoes that he marched in and everything. And so the Bosnia guy from Bosnia was telling his girlfriend, tell me something. So I was like, yeah, what is it? And she said, well, he said, you see this man right here? This man was inspirational and influential in our country too. He said, because of this man, our people in Bosnia is free.
Yes, and that's exactly what I said. I remember seeing, especially at Black History Month, the pictures of celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King for his birthday and for Black History Month in Africa. The kids had the pictures and they were celebrating his birthday. So
Yeah.
just as I said, he's influential all over, but I'm gonna just say this and then we're gonna move on. For me, especially, the thing that I look about with Dr. King, and I just can't take my eyes off of it, that he was one of the greatest American prophets that there was. He said, I have a dream. And the things that he dreamed about, with segregation and seeing blacks and whites being able to use the same fountain, to use the same bathroom, and for us to have equal rights, those were prophetic words. And that was one of America's greatest prophets. I do believe, and not just a prophet, but a preacher. He was not just a civil rights leader, but a preacher. But I can't forget that prophetic part. He prophesied things that just broke systems and brought change and a shift and ratification in the United States, which shifted over to other nations. He was a national prophet.
And before you get to that document where it was mentioned now, how they found people to be 169 years old and Social Security checks still going out. Before you get to that, let me just say this. Our people in government here in the United States, particularly federal government, they need to stop and realize, hey, we're in this world together. This is God's kingdom. So they have to go back to realize and look, ultimately, you have to believe in something that's higher than yourself. Just because you're in a high office, be it Congress or Senate, doesn't give you the right to rule over other people. you don't have the right or authority because that's left to God. You have to believe in something greater than yourself, and that is God.
Oh, yes. And that's what this country was founded on. In God we trust.
That's
This
right.
nation was founded. Now, they had some things wrong with slavery.
Yeah, in God we trust. In God we trust. But there's a separation between church and state.
Yes. Yes. So we are so grateful again to be here with this subject on today.
But you might have
And
to pick it up on the when we come back from the first break because we got 1 minute before the break.
oh yes. And so
I know it's gonna
we
be
could stay
long.
on that subject a little bit more, Dr.
Yeah,
Glenn,
we
about
can. Yeah, we
the
can.
government and in God we trust. And as we were talking about Dr. King, those other nations. And I appreciate hearing what you said that this lady in another country, she appreciated Dr. King. And that's what I'm talking about. His influence went all over. He was
All
not,
over.
he was I call him the American prophet, but he was a national prophet. His words went over and affected other nations and other lands.
International.
Definitely. And so we are glad that you came on with us on today. We are hope that you will continue to tune in. I want you to call in today and you could be live on the air with us. That phone number here in the studio is 252-756-2008. Again, the phone number is 252-756-2008. If you want to add something in on this subject or something that you just want to talk about here, we will get you live on the air with me and Dr. Glenn. This is Awesome Radio, and we will be right back in a moment. Awesome Radio.
My name is Jayla, and you're to see to my papa, Glenn Johnson, on the radio.
Awesome Radio Network, WECU, presents Radio Broadcast Academy, a summer pilot program for youth ages 13 to 18, July 18 to August 22nd on Fridays, 2 o'clock p.m. to 3 o'clock p.m. We're asking all youth ages 13 to 18 who may be interested in talking on the radio, being seen on TV and social media platforms to please sign up via our website, awesomeradionetwork.org. Click on the WECU logo. There you will find the full details of this program, the youth application, and the parent consent form. This is an opportunity for the youth to be introduced to a possible new career, broadcast radio. The show, Youth Huddle, will be hosted by teen mentor and 4-H leader, Miss Nada Manning, an Awesome Radio WECU radio personality. Free lunch after each show provided by local sandwich shops. Free transportation for participating youth provided by Courtesy Transportation, LLC, and Emmaus Travels, LLC. Future radio broadcast professionals, ages 13 to 18. Express your personality on live radio. Awesome Radio. WECU, 107.5 FM and 1570 AM. Full details can be found on our website, along with the youth application form and the parent consent form. AwesomeRadioNetwork.org. Click on the WECU logo. Contact us at 252-756-3137. That's 252-756-3137. Radio Broadcast Academy, a summer pilot program for youth ages 13 to 18. Presented by Awesome Radio Network, WECU.
I am Miss Mary Cox. I'm Killer Thigpen's mother from Awesome Radio.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Glenn Johnson Show. Motivation with Glenn and Apostle Jacqueline Culins Williams. All happening now. And I'm going to ask Apostle if she's ready to get to that document because she gave out some great information last week because of this fraudulent situation with Social Security checks going out to people that's 125 years old. But the one that really caught their attention was the one that went out to somebody that's 169 years old. Am I right, Apostle?
Yes, Dr. Glenn. And first, I want to just quickly just explain about Social Security, just in case someone doesn't know. And I did this on the first show here, and wanted to just tell you about the 3 areas of Social Security. And so Social Security is a retirement security through universal guaranteed benefits. And this is a benefit that you get at retirement age that will come to you, and it is based on your work history or your spouse's work history. And you will get that at retirement age. I think, Dr. Glenn, that this starts at 60 something, Social Security.
That's right.
And then I think you can get it for your spouse at 60 something too. I'm not sure of the exact age with the thing with the particular one with the spouse.
Well, Apostle, I'll tell you right now, don't worry about the age because this is something that's changing constantly. Right now, the age is 65. They want to make it higher to 70.
Oh my goodness. Well, there's also Social Security offers disability insurance, and this is for millions of American workers against a catastrophic loss of income or due to disability. So there's Social Security disability,
And that's the one that's SSDI.
SSDI, yes.
And that's the one that I'm on.
And then there's another one, which is Social Security provides survivors insurance for the survivors. Like if someone passes away, it gives the benefits to the children or to the spouse or to the family.
Right.
So these are the three areas, and we just wanted to make that clear.
There's actually one more. That's this SSI. That's for people that has a work history, that had a job. That's Social Security insurance, not disability insurance, but SSI is Social Security insurance. That's for people that has no work history, so they're able to receive some kind of benefit.
Yes, and so that is definitely it. There's some that have not worked and they can get those benefits. They don't have a work history. And
Yeah.
I think you have to work at least 3 years is what it is, 3 or 4 years. And I know it used to be years ago, I used to get a particular, especially when I lived in another state, I would get like a breakdown that said if I was disabled at this time,
Yeah.
how much money I would get, how much my kids would get. I haven't seen that in forever.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because you're right. I recall getting that too, and for some reason it just stopped.
Yeah.
I forgot the last time I received one. It used to be a statement: if you was to be disabled at such and such a time, this is how much your monthly benefit would be. I remember getting that, and all of a sudden it just stopped.
Yes, I wonder who stopped it and what happened there. Those were good things to look at, but I guess it probably tempted people with trying to be disabled or looking at what they would get, and it might tempt people that are not disabled to try to get the benefits, even though they were not ready or they were not worthy for those benefits.
Matter of fact, I think the last time I received one was when I was still living in New Jersey, prior to moving to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Was the last time I saw one of those.
Oh yeah, it has been many years, Dr. Glenn, but it definitely was there, and but I haven't seen it. I'm like, I don't know why they stopped it, but they should give it back.
Yeah, and see, like you mentioned, now when I became disabled as a result of my accident, it sees Social Security go by quarters. You have to have not like an actual quarter of money, but quarter mean a certain period of time. So your quarters add up over time.
Oh yes.
And when I became disabled, and they had to calculate my benefit for monthly payments, they went all the way back to when I started working as a youth at the summer program, after school. And that's when I was 14 years old. They went all the way back, added all those quarters up until the time I was disabled.
Definitely. And that is one thing that we need to the audience to know, our listening audience, is that different people get different amounts.
Yeah.
Everybody's not a one size fits all, because sometimes people are looking and say, well, why does this person get this much and this person only gets that much? Sometimes it could be the amount of time that they worked.
Yeah, that's right.
And then how much they made, and all of those particular things, as
Yeah.
Dr. Glenn said.
And I don't want to put nobody's information out there, but this gentleman just passed away recently. A friend of mine lived down the street from where I lived. And so he retired from the military. So not only was he getting his retirement pay for the military, but also his Social Security. I can't even begin to tell you the figures he was getting per month. I'm not at liberty to discuss that.
Oh yeah,
But-
when you get the retirement and the Social Security,
he was-
that's something good.
Oh, look, he was doing good. He was living like a king over there in Winterville.
Well, I know some that got the retirement and Social Security, and they continue to work, and they continue to make money, so they could be racking up. It's not all a negative about getting older, and it's a blessing to see that
Yeah.
you get to that age where you can draw that money.
Now, Apostle, if you don't mind, because we got 3.5 minutes before we go to another break, let's get to some of that document, because I want to find out more about these people who was getting these checks for people who was 125 and 169 years old.
Oh, yes, Dr. Glenn. I remember when we read this, how outraged I was to hear this particular thing. And so I'm going to read a few things for you. And I'm still outraged to today. I think afterwards I began to just think about this and look at those numbers and look at the huge amount of money that was out there because of the number of individuals. So it says here, and this particular document is talking about how Social Security is beefing up the security concerning Social Security. But they had to do it because they have found that there was so many people that were getting and I'm going to just read the document for you. It says the U.S. Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, has put forth multiple efforts to modernize government systems and prevent fraud. The department recently completed a massive cleanup of Social Security Administration records, marking over 12.3 million individuals previously listed as being 120 years old or older as deceased. This update was necessary to prevent fraudulent activities within the department. And so as we read that here, it said 12.3 million people were getting a check is basically what is happening, saying that they were 120 years old. Now, imagine, Dr. Glenn, and to our listening audience, that if that person died when they were 60, and now that check has been coming up until that they're at the age of 120. All those years of that check going somewhere and that money being wasted, I'm saying, where is the money?
Yeah, because they knew somebody was getting, because when you mentioned it said, the report said 120 years old, deceased. So they knew that the person was deceased. So why would you send out the check if you knew that person was 120 but deceased?
Right. And they're still sending that money to those people that were deceased. And then who was getting the money?
Yeah.
Those people need to be, I can't not believe that that's just all an outside job. 12.3 million, that is money that was being stolen from people that need it. And then they're always saying that it could run out, or by the time when we're ready to retire, or the younger generation is ready to retire, that the funds could not be there. When I sat and saw this, I said, wow, somebody needs to give an account of who was getting that money.
Yeah, because I'm not going to make an accusation or an assumption, but you have to realize sometimes these things do happen inside, because these people have all the records and they know how to send that money out for somebody to get it other than the person that's entitled to it.
Definitely. And Dr. Glenn, we're getting ready to go out on another break. We will be right back with you. If you want to call in again, I'm going to ask that you would call in if you want to be on the air with us. And one more time, that number is 252-756-2008. You can call in. I know that you're as outraged as we are about hearing that money and that amount of money being missing. Somebody needs to come up with something. This is the Glenn Johnson Show, and this is Awesome Radio. We'll be right back with you in a moment.
I am Miss Mary Cox. I'm Keller Thigpen's mother from Awesome Radio.
Your boss at work may not know your religious rights as a Christian. Stay tuned, you'll want to hear this.
Today's legal case is from the files of the Christian Law Association. Here's attorney David Gibbs Jr.
Ted had started at a new factory job, one that he was so grateful to have. He loved the job that he had. Things were great for the first several months, but then his manager announced mandatory overtime on Sundays for the next 2 months. Ted kindly told his boss that he had church, but the boss said he could either work or he could quit. Ted called us at the Christian Law Association, concerned over the possibility of losing his job. Our attorneys assured Ted that his boss was not correct in this instance. as Ted had every right to request a religious accommodation. Let me repeat that. Ted had every right to request a religious accommodation from this mandatory overtime that trampled on Ted's church attendance. We were happy to help Ted know exactly what to say and gave him all of the information that he needed. In America, they do not have the right to take Sunday and make it a normal work day. In America, your religious freedom to go to church is strongly protected by the law.
And that's today's Legal Alert with attorney David Gibbs Jr.
Awesome Radio Network, WECU, presents Radio Broadcast Academy, a summer pilot program for youth ages 13 to 18, July 18 to August 22nd, on Fridays, 2 o'clock p.m. to 3 o'clock p.m. We're asking all youth ages 13 to 18 who may be interested in talking on the radio, being seen on TV and social media platforms to please sign up via our website, awesomeradionetwork.org. Click on the WECU logo. There you will find the full details of this program, the youth application, and the parent consent form. This is an opportunity for the youth to be introduced to a possible new career, broadcast radio. The show, Youth Huddle, will be hosted by teen mentor and 4-H leader, Miss Nada Manning, and Awesome Radio WECU radio personality. Free lunch after each show provided by local sandwich shops. Free transportation for participating youth provided by Courtesy Transportation, LLC, and Emmaus Travels, LLC. Future radio broadcast professionals, ages 13 to 18. Express your personality on live radio. Awesome Radio, WECU, 107.5 FM and 1570 AM. Full details can be found on our website, along with the youth application form and the parent consent form. AwesomeRadioNetwork.org. Click on the WECU logo. Contact us at 252-756-3137. That's 252-756-3137. Radio Broadcast Academy, a summer pilot program for youth ages 13 to 18. Presented by Awesome Radio Network, WECU.
We're back. You're listening to The Glenn Johnson Show. You can reach Glenn at glennjohnsonshow@gmail.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Glenn Johnson Show, Motivations with Glenn and Apostle Jacqueline Culins Williams. As we proceed, because we have reached our final 30 minutes of the broadcast, so I want to issue a slight disclaimer. We're going to be reading from some documents that was from verified or credible sources, such as SSA, Social Security Administration, IRS, Internal Revenue Service. Are those trusted sources? I would say yes, because they're both government entities, and when I get the documents, I normally put the link to the site where I received the document from. But as we proceed to the broadcast, on some of these documents, there's some links that have some PDF files. We don't have those PDF files because this information is coming from government sources. So you can, as you can imagine, when the government gives out information, it's more than 2 or 3 pages. One PDF was 22 pages. Another one was 222 pages. So, of course, we won't even have time, even if I had the document, to even read that stuff. But should you desire copies of the documents, please don't hesitate to email me at Glenn, Glenn, Johnson, Shell at gmail.com. I'll be more than happy to forward the document to you. Here's Apostle Jacqueline Culins Williams.
Yes, Dr. Glenn, we had a little bit more on this one. It said after approximately 11 weeks, the cleanup was complete when they began to find these fraudulent activities with these high ages. And I, again, question that they've been giving that money out for years, but it only took them 11 weeks to clean it up. Had to be an internal thing that they...
You know, I had to be eternal.
How
Like
you
I said,
find all those people and find all this thing in 11 weeks? It was some error that was on the inside that all they had to do was go and adjust it, and that was it.
like I said, I don't want to make any accusations or assumptions, but somehow, somewhere, somebody knows something.
Yeah, and then all those checks being cashed. That money wasn't just sitting there; it was going out to people who was getting the money, who was cashing those particular checks. There's a way to track that
Yeah,
down. There's a financial institution involved. They need to be going getting that money back. That's a large. If you look at it, 12.3 million.
yeah,
Even if it was $800 checks a month, just $800. Can you imagine how much money that is? That is gone from that particular system?
yeah. And how many checks that was sent out for that amount? That's an alarming amount of money.
It is. It really is. And so it says here that it said the records show unexplainable high ages. Some individuals were listed as being 169 years old. Now, I don't even know anybody 120. And that alone, 169, they had to know that those things were not correct. And sending out that amount of money to somebody that's 169 years
They
old.
should know better.
Oh yeah, they should have known better. So I'm glad that they cleaned it up. It says why the cleanup was necessary, even though the details of deceased or fictionally aged citizens in the SSA database may seem like a harmless glitch. It may have serious consequences. There are many fraudsters who have taken advantage of deceased individuals' social security numbers to commit identity theft. These inaccurate records can also potentially inflate government records. Yes, so I don't understand, Dr. Glenn. I don't understand it. How you could come with somebody that has passed away, because it should be in the records already, in their records that the person is deceased, and you claiming benefits for somebody that's already gone.
Yeah, and this is where the death certificate plays a part.
Well, in that particular, Social Security Administration, they cut off everything when you die. How is it that you're going to come back again, or somebody come up with somebody that never got the benefits? And maybe the only one thing I could think with that, and that's just off the top of my head, maybe it was some infant that died a long time ago, and they got the Social Security number at the age that they would be ready or past, ready for Social Security, and they came back with it from some old, tombstones or old family records or something. That's the only way I can figure that. But still, it should have shown them as deceased in the system and denied that. And then, don't mention what you have to go through. Don't be disabled or something, and you got to go through the process of getting that money. I mean, they can make you wait, and you could have to jump through a lot of hoops. You get denied, and then you have to go back again and apply again. But yet these people that are scamming are using somebody that has passed away and using their information and getting it just like it's nothing. I don't understand it, Dr. Glenn.
It's almost like, all right, I don't want to go off the subject, but we got 4 minutes remaining for this particular segment. Then we'll be back with our final 20 minutes. It's almost like if somebody was voting for somebody, they were so used to voting for this person. This person had passed away years ago, but they were so used to voting for that person, they just automatically cast a ballot for that person because they were so familiar and so used to voting for that person. That person might not even been on the
ballot
ballot.
anymore. That's it. And that's what they were doing, just continuing and it needed to be cleaned up, because that is a huge amount of money to be there that somebody else is just getting, and people that are getting that are not due that money. Oh yeah, they need to be chased down and prosecuted, because if there's anything anytime we owe the government anything, they're coming after that money and getting it from us.
That's right.
A penny overpaid. And that's one of the documents that we needed to talk about there too, was talking about overpayment. Someone asked the question, and I think, Dr. Glenn, that we missed this, and it talked about what to do immediately if someone receives an overpayment notice.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We got 3 minutes. Can you get to it now?
Yes, Dr. Glenn, I'm looking here, and it talked about that they would and they could take it back all at once. One of the things that we looked at, it said that they could take that money back all at once.
They can.
that they could take 100% of it, but they're looking at it under the last president's, he would take it 10%. But now under this administration, they're putting it where they could take it 100%, and you could end up not getting any check if they find that there was a mistake for an overpayment.
So, yeah, I remember you saying that. And I asked the question, well, if they take 100%, isn't that the total amount of what's owed if it's 100%?
Depending on if what you're getting per month covers the overpayment.
Oh,
So if it doesn't cover it in 1 month, they could go, and it could be several months of you not getting a payment until they recoup all of that money back. And I thought that was very much so unfair.
yeah, it's unfair.
Giving them, taking back 10% or a portion of it
is one thing.
is one thing,
All at
but to
one-
take it all at
that is something totally
is
different.
something totally different.
Yeah, but like, I'm sorry about that. We have 1.5 minutes to go before we go to the break.
Yes, Dr. Glenn. There was also a question that was asked, do you still get your benefits while you're in prison? And it said here that you could get it while you're under a charge. You could get it while you're under a charge, but then one of them you could get it while you were being charged, but when you were actually in prison, you could not get it.
Yeah, as long as you're being detained, you can still receive
Right.
your benefits. But if you're actually sentenced,
But then
it just stops.
right. The other one that even being while you were being charged, and that's the one for people that have not worked, but they did not have income, but they're getting the Social Security, even being charged, you could not get it.
And that was the SSI.
Yes. You could be cut off while you're waiting for trial just for being charged for a crime. I thought that was really much unfair too, Dr. Glenn. They need to let me on this board and let me help them operate this particular
Well, you
section.
need to run for office.
I do. I need to get in there and get up there and get some things together. So, Dr. Glenn,
You got my vote.
I'm going to use my voice too. I'm going to say when I think that something is not
I
right.
know you are.
Some things are just unfair. Dr. Glenn?
20 seconds before the break.
Yes, so we're giving you a few more minutes. We have a few more segments here, and we want to invite you to call in if you want to. The phone number again here is 252-756-2008, and call in, weigh in on this conversation. This is the Glenn Johnson Show, and you're listening to us on Awesome Radio. Back in a moment.
Keep it locked right here to the Glenn Johnson Show.
This is today's GFA Minute with KP Yohannan.
What will we do? Will you carry gospel tracts wherever you go? Because physical hunger is one thing. The more terrible tragedy, people die without God and go to hell and forever. Will you make a commitment that you rather fast a day and use that money to buy gospel tracts and know where you will go without a commitment to give 2 or 3 or 4 people a gospel? They'll read it on national prayer. You can give to that night. You can pray, God, today I gave out 5 gospel tracts. I cry out to you, O Lord, would you please use that to bring hope into their heart? A couple of years ago, one atheist man who did not believe in God got a gospel tract and he read it. He gave his life to Christ, came to Bible school.
KP's book, Revolution in World Missions, is yours free at gfaminute.org.
I am Miss Mary Cox. I'm Keller Thigpen's mother from Awesome Radio.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Glenn Johnson Show, Motivation with Glenn. We have reached our final 20 minutes, so I'm going to give it right back over to Apostle.
Yes, and I wanted to read this particular document. It says some Americans will start getting smaller Social Security payments in July. It says, don't worry, it's not because of the impending shortfall, although many might already be fretting about that. And we were talking about that just on the last segment, and I definitely believe that declaring that there's going to be a shortfall of Social Security is about all that money that they were giving out for the people, 12 point something million people that were no longer alive, that were getting benefits. Those particular waste things, somebody should be responsible. I'm sorry, I have to say that again. Somebody needs to be held responsible. It says However, if the Social Security Administration happens to issue you an overpayment in the past, the agency is now seeking to get it back. What about all that money they overpaid to those other people? So now the people that are legitimately, they may have given you more, they're seeking to get their overpayment back in July. So you may get a fraction of what you normally would get in July. It says the agency is now seeking to get it back. An overpayment can happen when a beneficiary fails to update a change in income. For instance, as a result, Social Security overpays them, or the Social Security Administration can incorrectly calculate a person's benefits. Social Security paid out nearly $72 billion in improper payments. Okay, so they're not only coming after the ones that were the people that were getting the money fraudulently, but those that got the money and they miscalculated the amount you should have been getting, and also if they overpaid you because of an income, a particular income thing there. So they're trying to get $72 billion in improper payments, most of which were overpayments during fiscal years 2015 to 2022. According to an August 2024 report from the Social Security Administration Office of the Inspector General, improper payments accounted for less than 1% of the almost 8.6 million benefits paid. As of September 23, the agency had $23 billion in uncollected overpayments, according to the report.
Yeah, now, Apostle, we have 7 minutes remaining for this particular segment. Then we'll be back with our final 10 minutes. So I want to go to the document where it says
The millennials.
retired Americans face alarming six-figure threat to Social Security benefits. Because on the second page, it mentions millennials and Gen Z have more time to plan for losses to Social Security.
Yes, so as we talked about these overpayments, this is what they're declaring is the problem with why there could be impending shortage. And it says nearly 70 million Americans receive Social Security benefits, and the majority of senior recipients rely on monthly payments to supplement their retirement income. And so here it's saying here, it says, although the Social Security Administration has faced potential insolvency for decades, declining birth rates combined with larger life expectancies have created financial pressures on the federal program. And I want to say this too, Dr. Glenn, I can't forget this now. Also, we women are having an impact on that because one, we are living longer than men, and we are the ones that are going that could be most affected by it because we're having a longer lifespan than men. So we're the ones that are going to be on the Social Security more than males.
Yeah, and this is one of those documents that has a link for a PDF file. And this is what I was just explaining. This particular PDF file falls under where it says Social Security funding gaps will reduce benefits for Americans by over 100,000. Then there's a PDF file along with them making that statement, but that PDF file is actually 282 pages.
Wow, it says millennials and Gen X have more time to plan for losses to Social Security. And it says here, and I was reading just this part, it says, despite the fact that most Americans under 45 aren't confident Social Security will be around at all when they retire, younger workers have more time to plan for the reality of reduced benefits. Now, I think this needs to be a public service announcement. They're saying that they have time to plan, but is everybody aware that these benefits could not be around? I mean, we've heard some things that were kicked around with it in the media, but is it out there like it needs to be? Is that announcement out there letting people know, those that are 45, that these benefits could not be there when they retire?
Because it's up in the air. They don't know if it will be or if it wouldn't. But they would know if they would leave it alone. They'll know it would be there if they would just leave well enough alone.
Well, Dr. Glenn, Well Enough has had 12 point something million stolen from this, and we don't need, I'm glad they're making some changes. but I also see that they're coming after other people and recouping money, which may hurt a lot of people, especially starting here in July. That's this week.
Well, I'll tell you what, before we go to the break and get to our final 10 minutes, I would suggest to these millennials and Gen Zs to start saving your money. You might not want your money kept in the bank because a lot of people are going against banks and stuff now. But you have a decision to make. I believe in the 3 C's. You have choices to take chances to make changes. If I was you, I would start putting your money away. Maybe you don't believe in mutual funds or CDs or stocks and bonds, but save your money. Perhaps we'll do a topic on how to save money. I know some tricks up my sleeve, how to save money. You would be surprised if you cut out certain things, how much money you can actually save over time. We'll definitely do a part on that.
I definitely believe that, Dr. Glenn, because a lot of times people say they can't save money, but then if they start listing what they spend their money on, you'll find that there's a lot of things you could cut out and save money on.
That's right, a lot of stuff.
And being a wise shopper too, going in the store and making the best deal. You know, there's some people that are stuck on name brand only. They won't buy any off brand of anything to eat. It has to be the well-named brand, which may be more expensive, when sometimes an off-brand tastes just as good or even better, and you could eat that and it costs a little bit less. Some people are stuck like that now, Dr. Glenn. I know some people, they only want this brand of that or that brand of that because they think the others don't taste as good.
And some people even waste food by throwing it away because they see a best by date versus an expiration date. Those dates are 2 different things. The best by date is what is used before the best by date is at its freshest. That doesn't mean it expired. The expiration date indicates when it's expired. So the best by date, expiration date is 2 different things. You can save your money by not throwing away stuff that's still good. It hasn't been perishable.
Oh yeah, and taste it. You can taste if something is not good. You know when the milk is spoiled.
You can see it too. If it's green, that joint is mean.
Well, and fuzz on top of it. Don't eat that. Don't eat anything that looks black or green on top. Don't do that because that means
fuzzy.
It's no good.
And fuzzy, got fuzz on it.
Yeah, I'm not an expert, but I know the fuzz is a no-no. Don't eat that. Throw that away.
No, we're not making light of the situation, but that is true. If it has fuzz on it, it's black, brown, or green. Leave well enough alone.
That's right. And
We have 1
sometimes,
minute, Jackie, before the break.
sometimes if it's floating in the top of the jar, no, don't eat that either. And
That's
if
right.
white looking, the clear part is at the bottom, don't eat that. That's
And
spoiled.
let me tell you before you go take the break. If you had those mayonnaise packets, now mayonnaise will spoil if it's not stored properly. Because I remember at a school, all the kids got sick because they went on a field trip and they had the mayonnaise packets. But the mayonnaise packets had been exposed to a lot of heat. So it all spoiled inside the thing. So when they ate it, they all got sick because it was spoiled.
Oh, yeah, we're getting ready to go out on our last break here, and we want you to come right back with us to hear the conclusion of this matter. We have a few documents about the IRS, and to finish up with Social Security, hey, you have one more segment that you could call in, and the phone number is 252-756-2008. You still have time to call in. This is the Glenn Johnson Show, and you're listening to us on Awesome Radio. We will be right back in a moment. Awesome Radio.
My name is Jayla, and you're to see to my papa, Glenn Johnson, on the radio.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our final 10 minutes of today's broadcast. Without further delay, I'm going to hand it right back over to Apostle Jacqueline Culins-Williams.
Yes, we are looking here. Dr. Glenn, I think you want us to do the IRS?
Yeah, I know there was 2 updates on IRS situations.
Oh, Dr. Glenn, I'm looking here. I'm seeing,
Yeah,
it says IRS warning issued for 2026 tax source.
Yeah.
And it says taxpayers could be facing a significant hurdles during the 2026 tax filing season after the Internal Revenue Service reduced its workforce by more than 1/4 in this past year, according to the new reports delivered to Congress.
And that's next year, you know.
Definitely. We saw those particular layoffs or those people that were losing their jobs, and we also see it in other areas. And I just needed to say, Dr. Glenn, that and speak to our listening audience, because we talked about this reduction in Social Security in July. That's this week. There's somebody that may be missing their money this week, and they need prayer.
And since you said that, let me just rephrase what I just said. That's next year. But let me rephrase that by saying that's only months away. Months away. You got to realize that.
Definitely. So when you get ready to file your taxes, and even for those people, there are a lot of people that lost their jobs. I saw a sign, this particular thing on one of our social media outlets, and there was a man in a wheelchair, and he said, "I voted for my job to end." He said he voted for his own termination because he didn't know voting for this particular president was going to cause him to be terminated.
Yeah.
So he said he voted for his own termination, for his own job removal. So, there's a lot of people that are regretting that decision now, but we just going to get through it, and we're going to keep on praying and pray for those that are at a loss. Because there's a lot of people that are losing, and even programs in this county that have been discontinued.
And there's a lot of people that's angry, and I don't blame them. There's a lot of people that's upset and angry about what's going on. So we all need to stick together and make do out of what's good for all of us.
Definitely. And I was reading some things that were talking about it, even Dr. Glenn, about some of the changes that are coming with Section 8 and the other housing vouchers. A lot of people are going to have to find jobs. And now that means that the workforce and the job market is going to be overflooded with people that were not working prior, and now the competition for jobs is going to be up because they're going to be kicked off. They're not going to be able to live unless they get off the system. So there's a lot of changes and a lot of things that we need to be looking for, and we need to be watching to see how it's going and what's happening.
Not to make fun of anything, but have a trivia question for you.
Sure.
What do you call a guy sitting in a tree with a briefcase?
A guy sitting in the tree with a briefcase. I have no clue. I was going to say a guy in the tree with a briefcase.
A branch manager.
A branch manager. Okay, I get it, Dr. Glenn.
All right, let's get back to this topic.
So the IRS, this document is telling us why, and it says why it matters. The reduction of 20% of the IRS workforce comes as the agency prepares for new complex tax law changes anticipating in congressional budget negotiations. So things are going to be long. It means that when it's tax season, because there's less people to prepare the taxes and to operate and deal with past tax issues or those that are currently being instituted as far as laws and different stipulations, our taxes are going to take a longer time to get them back. That's in essence what's going to happen.
Yeah, and see, not only that, they want everything computerized, and they want to cut out people's jobs by the computer do it. The worst thing they ever did was allow these computers to do the work of human beings. You know what I mean? That just file up everything. Because I got accounts that's been closed out because payments didn't go through. Because everybody wanted to rely on ACH, automatic draft, which I can't stand. Because my credit union told me two different things, how they send an ACH out. Either it's the first one that they think is first, who's sitting there to make determination what goes out first, or it's the one with the highest amount. Those are two different stories I heard. So I stopped doing automatic drafts.
Oh yeah, and a computer doesn't have common sense.
That's right.
It couldn't see that somebody was 126 years old and didn't need those payments, or 160 something years old and didn't need those payments.
And some of the human beings over there don't have common sense either.
Dr. Glenn, wow.
I hate to say it, but they don't.
Well, it's the truth.
Because common sense is not common.
Well, and wisdom is not, everybody doesn't have wisdom. So we're looking at those particular issues, and it is my prayer that they began to hire some of these people back. I guess after, I saw people trying to get the deadline and they were outside of an IRS office trying to get that on this year. So imagine what's going to happen, to some of the people that are used to doing their taxes. I know people that January, they have that thing the first week in January, they have their taxes done, or second week in January. And I'm thinking, how did you get it done? Sometimes it's to the end of the month before you get your tax statement from your jobs. How did you get it done so fast?
The hardest part about filing taxes with me was one time was getting it all in an envelope and getting it over to my mother's house.
Oh, wow. Your mother did the taxes.
So she could do it.
Yes, but some of them are doing them in January. They have theirs back in January and just done. So imagine this year with those people losing their jobs and not as many people available to process the taxes, it's probably going to take a much longer time this year.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's going to take a much longer time. So that's something that you get your heart and your mind for, and get an anticipation for.
Yeah. Now
it's going to happen.
We have 3 minutes to go. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want everybody to hear this before I give it over to an apostle to end the broadcast. I would love for you to email me so you can get copies of these documents, because some of them we couldn't get to, have a lot of relevant information in it. As I said, you'll see some of the links because they have other documents that might be well over 200 pages. So, of course, we couldn't print that out and bring it to today's broadcast. But email me, and I'll make sure you get a copy. The email, Glenn, Glenn, Johnson Show @gmail.com. Once again, Glenn Johnson Show @gmail.com. 2 minutes remaining for Apostle to close out today's broadcast. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, so very much.
Yes, Dr. Glenn, and as I'm thinking, I'm wondering if they're saying that Social Security could run out. What about the people that are on now? Yeah. Do they just end up being very elderly and not getting anything? I'm just like, wow, we need to really pray for our government systems and wisdom, though, for the people that are handling these particular things and making the plans, that they will have wisdom and learn how to stretch things out and do things more efficiently. Some of the other programs that they cut the money out of, they need to shift it over to Social Security, because all these people lost their jobs. That money is out there that they used to pay for this and that. Well, now they need to move it over.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm on Social Security disability. SSDI. I want my check. You can't do that to me. I'm on Social Security disability for the rest of my life. I expect my check promptly every month without hesitation, most expeditiously.
I understand that, Dr. Glenn. Hey, we're so glad that you were on and you took the time out of your day to come and listen to this broadcast. We hope that we've given you some good information out there, and it is our prayers that we're praying for those of you that even in this month that may have had a shortage or a cut in your check, but we want to make sure to let you know that we're concerned about you and that you are in our prayers. This is the Glenn Johnson Show, and we're looking forward to seeing you next week. Dr. Glenn?
I want to thank everybody for tuning in. God bless all of you, and have a happy and wonderful 4th of July if you choose to observe it or celebrate it. I know a lot of people observe Juneteenth, which is another rendition or version of the 4th of July, but for African Americans. So God bless you all. Enjoy your holiday weekend. Stay safe, of course, and don't drink and drive. I know a lot of people like to party on the 4th of July, a lot of fireworks, a lot of boozing, but don't forget, North Carolina booze or losing. So thank you for tuning in. God bless you all.